So if you click on this video, you know that the turbocharged BRZ has got a little bit of an issue. Now I can't say that I didn't see this coming, as it did give me a few telltale signs, a few noises here and there, but generally overnight this literally completely gave out to the point that I could barely even go forward or backward in the car here in the driveway. Now we are going to go ahead and do this ourselves here in the garage. We're going to go ahead and jack it up on jack stands and drop the transmission and change that throwout bearing, and hopefully if all goes to plan it's just the throwout bearing, but we won't know until we get in there. So let's get into it. So as you heard, it sounds pretty bad. I'm going to go and start it up inside the car here now as well. And again, I did notice the actual foot pedal itself started to feel weird as well. You can see when we take our foot off the pedal, it stops. When we put our foot on the pedal, even just a little bit, she starts to squeal. And we are 100% at the point of no return, because now even that small drive inside the garage here has started to smoke and it smells absolutely terrible. So I'm curious to see what that thing's gonna look like when we pull it off. So before we jack the car up and get underneath it, we need to take apart a few things on the inside. The first being the center console. Now, if you've never taken one of these out before, I will say it is pretty easy, so don't be too overwhelmed. There's a lot of tutorials on it that take you step by step on how to do it, but watching this will at least give you a general idea of what you need to do and kind of how to go about it. But overall, you're gonna take out the center console here. There's a few clips underneath here that you need to pay attention to and make sure to pull those before you start ripping it out. And then same thing around the shifter here. There's a few bolts and nuts that you got to take off too. Super easy to do. You're just going to slide it over the top as well and get it around the edge. Now make sure you mark this part on here, because it's going to help you realign it whenever you put everything back together. If you don't do this, it might mess it up and it's going to feel kind of weird. This pin here can be a little tricky, but just with some needle nose, you can get it out pretty easy as well. And now we're making our way underneath the car. Now I do want to say, I'm not going to show you guys everything that I took off of here, but kind of give you an idea of what you need to do. So just know there are parts and bits that I didn't show on video of taking off. Removing this downpipe though is a must in order to get that clearance with the transmission as well. So keep that in mind. And of course, before we get too far along, we're going to need to drain the transmission fluid. So make sure you do this, because if you don't, you're going to make a big mess. And don't be like me and forget to pull out the plug of your drain pan, just a FYI. And of course, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery as well and just kind of get that out of the way, which then we can go ahead and move on to getting the starter out, as well as start taking off those bell housing bolts. All right, so we've got all the bolts out of the transmission now, and we're ready to go ahead and start separating. Now, I do want to show you guys something on the top here. There is a bolt right behind here. It's kind of hard to show you. That is a 14 millimeter. It's one of the last ones to take out. A ratchet wrench is going to be your best friend in this instance. I actually put it on there and then took a hammer and was able to kind of bust it loose a little bit, because it was extremely hard to maneuver through there. And maybe just a little tip that'll save you some time is to do it that way as well. Again, you do have the clips and stuff right there. We also got to take off this part here with the 2 bolts on each side of that. Separated there, we did the clips. Everything's good to go. And then we're going to go and get this thing separated and drop it down. And if I'm being honest, this thing was a pain to take out. It fought me every which way direction, and it didn't help that we didn't have the proper tools to do this. And you can kind of see some of my sketchy parts here in order to make this work. But hey, the important part is we actually managed to get this thing out. And I will say the relief of when it finally popped out was so satisfying. Oh, yes, finally. Oh my gosh. So after finally getting the transmission disconnected from the engine, we can go ahead and lower it and take a look on the inside. And you can see here, this thing is cooked. I mean, literally cooked. So now this is it, a little bit more cleaned up. And as far as the sleeve right here, you can see there's definitely some wear on it. And unfortunately, right about here, I can actually feel some indentions, some grooves from the old throwout bearing. So I'm gonna end up doing a repair sleeve. We're gonna see how well that slides on there. And may or may not do it, but that's kind of the next step here. So here is the old throwout bearing that went bad on it previously, and as you can tell, it is definitely messed up. It actually looks like it kind of like warped to the side, and it does not move at all. This thing is completely locked up. And it got some heat too. So this whole thing just completely tore up and has kind of almost welded itself together, because it does not move at all. So it's definitely bad. Now we do have the new one here, and we did go a little cheap with it. We went with the Clutch Max Pro. I know there's a few other kits out there that really help these throwout bearings and these BRZs and whatnot. because apparently these are prone to fail early, but we're gonna give it a go for the cheaper one here. And as you can tell, this one does spin freely. Looks a lot better, definitely newer. This is what it's kind of supposed to look like. That's what the old one looks like there on the back, and here is on the front. So big difference. And it also did come with a repair sleeve. We're gonna slide this on and see how we like it. Like I said, I may or may not use it, but if you're interested to see that, I'm gonna show you guys that as well. But again, this one actually does move, feels good, no issue so far. And this one is not only totally locked up, but it's pretty deformed too. And you can see there's some heat marks on there as well. So this thing was cooking. Now, I'd never used a repair sleeve before, but considering that you could fill those indentations or grooves, I figured we might as well install it. Again, it was really easy, just kind of goes on and then you tighten it down. Now, the previous owner had already installed an upgraded clutch fork, so I was lucky to have that. And of course, we're gonna go ahead and apply some grease here on all the places that I might have contact. Now, after I put it on, I didn't notice it was kind of moving around too much. It was kind of like had a lot of free play, and I took it on and off multiple times, and then I figured out what the issue was. So here's a quick little tip for anybody who's having issues of their fork kind of going up and down. Basically, like this feels kind of loose. Like you know, you take it off, felt fine, but when you put it back on, it feels too loose. Like this fork, like yes, it'll do this, but mine right before this was kind of shifting down just a little bit. Well, on the back here, there's clips. I don't want to take it off because now I've got it in there seated real well. But these clips need to be pushing up against that pivot ball really good. So if it's not, it's going to slide around. And yes, you know, you can go ahead and replace this with another OEM one. I obviously can't because I can't wait 3 or 4 days for shipping. So what I did instead was I basically bent it just a little bit. You know, taking it out, it might have just warped or come off slightly. But being able to just bend it a little bit seemed to actually snap in a lot better. And now it'll move without shifting down, up and down. So if you have that issue, just know you can actually bend the clips to get it to sit right. Obviously, longevity wise, this might not be ideal, but if you're in a pinch like me and you need to make it happen, you can definitely do that. Again, you just have to bend those clips just enough to get them to sit on that pivot ball right. So hopefully that helps somebody out there. Now, before you start bashing me in the comments about, hey, you used too much grease, just know I did wipe it clean and get rid of all that excess. And here's a little peek of the pressure plate. And you know how we said we were just replacing throwout bearing and the clutch should be fine? Well, stay tuned because this is about 6 months ago. And yeah, there's a new video coming out where we end up doing this again for the clutch. And of course, we're gonna put everything back together and basically just do everything we just did in reverse. All right, y'all, so we were able to make it happen in this tiny garage here, but we got the job done with everything here. So thank goodness we were able to get it done. All right, so far I have just started her up and rolled her out of the garage right here. And so far we don't have any leaks and no noises. And right now I'd say the clutch actually feels really good. So if we go in here and take a look, I'll show you guys. Now, when we push on the clutch right here, no squeaking. And it actually feels really good. I feel like the other one was definitely getting seized up, and I could definitely feel it on the pedal itself because this one actually feels really smooth. But so far, no squeaking, no nothing. It actually engages really well. Let's go and just try and reverse real quick. So clutch in, reverse, goes into gear. Again, it's got new transmission fluid and differential fluid. We changed all the fluids on it, so maybe it'll even shift even better now. If we let it out, door's gonna close. You can see it engages just fine. Beautiful. And then if we do first, same thing, engages perfectly. So I think the throwout bearing job was a success so far. Gonna let her warm up just a little bit longer and then we'll go take it for a test drive. So first gear, engages really nicely. Go into second. Perfect. No issues at all. And it feels a lot smoother, honestly. I think that other one, the seizeness of the other one was definitely rough. All right, we're gonna go into third. Perfect. Beautiful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We got it done. The throwout bearing in the turbocharged Subaru BRZ. It was definitely bad, definitely going out, and surprisingly, even though we have a small area to work with, we made it happen, and it's done, and it sounds great, it feels great so far, so we should be good to go. Luckily, there was no surprises when we actually took everything apart and got in there and went to work on it, so that's a plus, so we keep going along. Usually, you know, you want to change the clutch when you do the throwout bearing just because the size of the job, but again, this clutch still should have plenty of life left on it, and just replacing the throwout bearing hopefully was the right decision. Now, if there's anything that you saw that I did wrong or should have done differently, make sure to let me know in the comments below this video. And while you're down there, slap the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe, because we're trying to grow the channel to 1,000 followers. And right now I think we're at like 523. So any subscriber, it is free, and I really would appreciate it. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and be looking forward to more videos like this. Oh my gosh. Oh, bring me the vape. I'm gonna need your help.